You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
It's a big world out there, and you're just looking for a pat on the back or head. You run around the city, searching for a place to bark, working your tail off with your nose to the ground, sniffing for a few scraps, hoping someone will throw you a bone. You take each lead, collar after collar, hoping one day to take a bite out of success and become the top dog. Fortunately, you come home each day to open arms, open cans, a drink waiting for you, and a comfortable place in front of a TV set. You know you've got it good, really good, because after all, it's a doggy dog world out there. Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with your host, pet expert, and award-winning author Liz Palaika, and this week's co-hosts Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Hi, this is Liz Palaika. Welcome to It's a Doggy Dog World. I'm here with my friends Petra Burke.
Hello.
And Kate Abbott.
How do?
And we're going to sensitive subject today. Every once in a while we need to do these on our podcast, and this is one that's bothered all three of us quite a bit. And because of it happening in Canada recently, it came to the forefront, and that's breed-specific legislation. Breed-specific legislation is the outlawing or banning or putting restrictions on a specific breed, usually because of one incident or a couple or few incidents. The American Pit Bull Terrier, or Pit Bull, is often the target of these breed-specific legislations. For example, in Denver, Colorado, you cannot have a Pit Bull. Even if you're going to Denver, Colorado to compete in a dog sport, don't take your Pit Bull there. They're very unfriendly to Pit Bulls.
Reports have that they have confiscated even just passing through people with their Pit Bull.
Yes.
Not the people. They've confiscated the dogs.
Right. And there's a lot of problems with breed-specific legislation, so we want to talk about it a little bit. One of the first things I want to talk about is the United Kingdom, because they banned some specific breeds of dogs in 1991. So they've got a history of this. And we'll talk a little bit about what's happened. But the breeds affected by it, this is called the Dangerous Dog Act, and the four breeds that were made illegal by this ban were the Pit Bull Terrier, Japanese Tosas, the Dogo Argentino, and the Fia Brasileiro. Pardon my pronunciation. Now, the Japanese Tosa was bred to be a fighting dog, as the Pit Bull was originally. The Pit Bull was a British breed, by the way, and it was used for bear baiting, fighting bears, and for dog fighting, which took place in a pit, which is where the name came from. Now, this was back in the early 1800s, so this was a long time ago, although underground fighting still happens even today. The Japanese Tosa, as I said, was bred for fighting. The Dogo Argentino and the Fia Brasileiro were hunting dogs, and still are hunting dogs, large game, but they also were used for dog fighting, especially when they were brought to Great Britain.
So this is a nationwide ban.
This is the United Kingdom.
Okay.
All right. And what happens with the Dangerous Dog Act, or this one, is if a person owned one of these banned breeds, the police were allowed to take it away and keep it, even if it wasn't acting dangerous at the time. In other words, they could confiscate the dog. If the dog was in a public place, they would just take it right then and there.
Whoa.
If it was in a private home, the police would have to get a warrant to take it. But
without saying that the dog had done anything.
Right.
Just existing.
These were
because you had that breed.
Because you had that breed. Now, this would then go to court. If the dog was decided that the dog was not dangerous, I'm sure they called in behavior experts or whatever, the owner might be given a certificate of exemption and then would be put on a national list of exempted dogs. Now, I wasn't able to find out how often that happened.
Right.
But the possibility existed. And that certificate would be valid for the life of the dog, but the dog must be neutered, microchipped, kept on a leash, and he still had to be muzzled in public. But at least he was alive.
Yeah.
the dog must also ensure that the dog wasn't a danger to people or other dogs in the future. So that's
and no new dogs imported of those breeds. Okay.
Nor breeding.
Or bred, yeah.
Now, in England, some of the related breeds, like the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, those were not banned. They were not part of it. In many places that ban the dogs, any of the bully breeds are all clumped together as pit bulls or bully breeds. But in England, they did not. They exempted those. Now, the interesting thing is, the more I dug into this, we found that it really didn't work. So, for example, if we're still looking at the United Kingdom, in Ireland, the incidences of dog bites has risen by more than 50%. And
since the enacting of this ban?
Well, they increased theirs. In 1998, Ireland increased their banned breeds to 11 breeds.
Oh, wow.
And included the American Pit Bull Terrier, the English Bull Terrier, the Staffordshire Bull Terrier, the Bull Mastiff, the Doberman Pinscher, the German Shepherd, Rhodesian Ridgebacks, Rottweilers, Japanese Akitas, Japanese Tosas, and Band Dog. But the incidences of dog bites has risen by more than 50%.
Since they made it more restrictive.
Right, right. So...
Did they say why they think that happened? Did they have any thoughts to it?
Well, there's a lot of... Not in this article, though. There's a lot of conjecture. I don't think there's too much science yet. But part of what is often said is, if we have... Say, for example, since pit bull is the focus of most of these, say we have a pit bull owned by a person who has not trained the dog. Perhaps the dog was bred to fighting parents, or someone has been breeding dogs with that temperament. That dog becomes a dangerous dog for whatever reason. If that dog is banned, he's still going to be looking for a dog of the same kind, or to create a dog of the same kind. So if he can't have a pit bull, is he going to be looking at another fighting dog?
Right.
That's not on the list.
Okay, so one of our most famous cases was of a woman who was killed by two...
Presa
Canarios. Owned by a guy who was in jail.
Right.
And he said that he got the dogs to protect his drugs.
Right.
So why did he get a weird breed or not well-known breed like the Presario? Because
they weren't outlawed.
Right. So if they want a dangerous dog, they're just going to find an equally dangerous
And
dog.
we've seen that here in the United States. There was a period of time where German Shepherds were the breed of choice by the gang members, the gangsters, and the quote-unquote the bad guys. And then Doberman Pinschers were the bad dog of that era, and then Rottweilers were the bad dog, and now it's pit bulls. Pit bulls have hung on longer than many of the others, but they're the target now too. We've got some legislation from various states.
So we don't have a nationwide ban yet, but our federal government doesn't. We're just too big. So you've given me the one for Tennessee. And
it's 2 pages.
Pit bulls are banned in 39 cities. There are a few that are, the dog has to be declared vicious or dangerous before being banned. But most of them are just pit bulls banned, pit bulls banned, pit bulls banned.
But it's not just pit bulls either.
Here's Rottweilers and Dobermans.
I get
German Shepherds, Akitas, Chow Chows.
I got wolf hybrids on a few of these that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And what state is that?
West Virginia has 8 counties, or city, I guess. Pit bulls, wolf hybrids.
Here's Mount Juliet in Tennessee. Pit bulls are banned from dog parks. Okay. Whenever there's a law, you got to figure somebody said there was a problem. So
right,
there must have been a problem at a dog park.
Yeah.
Or somebody got bit.
But I have to say, with that one, as much as that may or may not be fair, because why ban a whole breed because of one or several incidences, but at least it didn't ban them altogether.
Right.
I have from New Mexico, in one city, pit bulls, Rottweilers, and German Shepherds In another city, strictly pit bulls.
Yeah, pit bulls, Rottweilers, Doberman, Pinschers, and German Shepherds.
Well, then there's one here in California that well, it's not a ban.
California has a different law.
Yeah, they do mandatory sterilization. Of 98% is pit bulls in these cities. But I have one that says mandatory sterilization for pit bulls and chihuahuas.
Because those hordes of vicious chihuahuas roaming the streets. But they can, yeah. Whether they had, if it was just overpopulation or was it dog bites? We don't know what they were looking at.
Yeah. And then there's Kansas, which I was just, generally curious because my daughter lives. And again, bans across the board of pit bulls, Rottweilers here and there. But I was actually surprised there's one city that has banned, the owner held very high standard and caring and knowledge. Okay, so Pit Bull Terrier, Staffordshire Terrier, Argentine Dogo, Cane Corso, Chow, the Dog Bordeaux, Doberman Pinschers, German Shepherds, Presa Canario, Rottweilers, Staffordshire Bull Terriers.
So just about all the working dogs.
Yeah. This is almost 3 pages of just this one state.
One of the statistics that we came up with during all our research was that in the 12-year period from 2005 through 2016, in the United States, dogs killed 392 people. Now, this isn't broken down by adults and children. Unfortunately, we know children get
disproportionate amount.
Yeah, and they're much more vulnerable. Pit bulls contributed to 65% of those deaths. Combined, pit bulls and Rottweilers contributed to 76 of the total recorded deaths. But I've got a problem with that. What is a pit bull?
Yeah. Well, there we go.
Yeah.
What is a pit bull? There's a lot of dogs with big blocky heads.
Well,
there's a lot of dogs with...
Wasn't it just this weekend? One of our assistant trainers has a beautiful English-bred, very square, purebred lab.
Yes.
Who somebody said, is he a pit bull?
Yeah.
Because of his square head of the traditional lab square, stocky body. Mistook him as a pit bull.
Yeah. Pit bulls by themselves, because of their heritage, are pretty much a mixed breed.
Yeah.
There are registered pit bulls that compete with the United Kennel Club or with the Pit Bull Club, but as a general rule, they're a mix. And they have been mixed many, many times, on purpose or accidentally. There can be pitties with Bull Terrier, or pitties with Lab, or, just a generic multi-mixed dog that happens to have a blocky head. So, in classifying dogs as a pit bull, we've got a major problem right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I know in England that was one of the problems when their Dangerous Dog Act was implemented, is what is a pit bull? And
how many times just in our area we've seen a news show, another pit bull attack, they show the dog being dragged away, and I'm like, that's not a pity.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I yell at the TV. That's not a pity.
But they're already painted with that brush.
Yeah.
And not only that, if it's another breed, they'll say someone was bitten by a dog.
Yes.
If it's anything short hair or blocky head, then it becomes a pit bull did it.
Or a vicious pit bull attack.
Yeah.
Today.
So when they create these bans and they're making all these statistics about pit bulls did 65% of it or whatever, how accurate is that?
Yeah.
We've got to question that. That's
very true.
Yeah. And I've been bitten by a pit bull.
Yeah.
I do watch the pitties that are a little too aggressive or a little too hyper or a little too much hard stare. I pay attention to that, but I'm not going to blame the whole breed for that. We've got some awesome pit bulls in our therapy dog group.
Yeah.
That are absolutely wonderful. So breed identification is a big part of it. It's a huge part of it. Besides the people who want the aggressive, strong dog. So we got multiple things going on
and
here.
They're just going to keep bringing in the whatever, the Molossers from all over the world.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, when we were talking about this topic, you were talking about all your research and so forth, and I said, but Liz, the question is, does it work?
No. And there's multiple... Well, before we get into that, we were talking about the media and pit bulls.
Yeah.
here's a statement. The city of Toronto instituted a breed ban in 2005 for pit bull, and they said pit bull type dogs.
Hey.
Okay.
That's huge.
And the provincial attorney general at that time, and I'm not even going to say his name, after he introduced the bill, he said, "This is the beginning of the end of the reign of terror that pit bulls have wrought upon Ontarians for many, many years."
Reign of terror.
Really?
Can we get a little hyperbolic?
Yeah. I mean, really. Really.
But then that huge pool, the pit bull again, just
Uh-huh.
again that could be
'Cause he
this
wants to
wonderful
get-
lab that be all of a sudden categorized as a pit bull.
Right.
He said he wants to get rid of them all.
Yeah. So then to talk about, does it work? And this is in Toronto. The incidences of bites from pit bull type dogs declined, of course, because there were fewer dogs of that type.
Makes sense.
All right. They were banned. And on paper, that might make it look like the legislation was successful. But the Toronto Humane Society noted in 2014 that by restricting the breed ownership of pit bulls, it did not reduce the incidence of dog bites. It did not. It said a survey of reported dog bites in 36 Canadian municipalities found no difference between the jurisdictions with breed-specific legislation and those without.
So basically, it's a canine reign of terror anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's wrong, too. But,
Yeah.
so it just doesn't.
It doesn't work. All right, well, we need to take a break for our sponsors, so hold on. We've got a lot more to talk about when we get back.
Sit. Stay. It's a doggy dog world. We'll be right back after a short pause. Well, 4 to be exact.
Not pumped about cleaning the litter box? Try World's Best Cat Litter Zero Mess, the litter that gives you 2 times better clumping and more odor control with less litter. That's right. You scoop once and you're done. No chiseling, no scraping, no crumbling, no problem. Looking for fast and easy litter box cleanup? Zero Mess. Try it. You're welcome in advance. Save $2 on World's Best Cat Litter. Visit www.saveonworldsbest.com.
Hanukkah, the German Shepherd that I rescued, was stinky, skinny, and scrawny, full of skin rashes and scratching. And I started feeding Hanukkah Dinovite, and he became such a happier, itch-free, stink-free dog that I dug deeper into the website.
DINOVITE.com.
What if, in addition to Dinovite, we do the raw beef and the egg diet and see what happens? Forget all these 50-pound bags of formulated, extruded, processed cereal bits that cost a ton of money anyways. This dog's as close to a wolf as you can get. They're carnivores. With just the raw meat and the eggs and the Dinovite and Super Omega on top of it, it just balances out his body and his mind and his spirit. It's unbelievable. Hey, if you're thinking about rescuing a dog, you got to start them out on Dinovite, DINOVITE.com.
859-428-1000. DINOVITE.com.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com. We know you're begging for more. So back to It's a Doggy Dog World with your fetching hosts, Liz Palika, and this week's co-hosts, Kate Abbott and Petra Burke.
Welcome back to It's a Doggy Dog World. This is your host, Liz Palika, with my good friends Petra Burke and Kate Abbott. The pattern repeated everywhere that breed bans have been enacted and enforced, or at least restrictions. Initially, the number of dog bites often do go down because the people who had those dogs have lost those dogs.
Right.
Or the dog is restricted, or they had to move, or the dog was impounded and euthanized. So, that changes. But then the people are going to get another dog to replace the pet they lost.
So they're either going to get the same purposed dog to be aggressive, to be a guard dog or defend or whatever, or just intimidation, or they're going to find a dog and treat it the same.
And create the same.
Create the same problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
So bottom line, we haven't fixed
Whether
the
it's a pit
problem.
bull or a
it's
chihuahua.
the owner's the problem. Yeah, because like you said,
So that article
gonna do it
about
again. You need a different dog.
the United Kingdom saying the Labradors were the most likely to bite
Yeah.
because they've. So now they hardly the breed we think of as a reign of terror, Labs. I mean, what do I call them? Labradorks. A lot of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you misuse them, if you misbreed them, if you do wrong things to them, you can create a dangerous dog out of them. So the top 10 breeds of bites in 2004
in Toronto.
So in 2004, the top with 112 was German Shepherd. So German Shepherd already was first.
Uh-huh.
Second was Pit Bull. Third, Jack Russell Parson Terrier. Yeah. Fourth was Labrador. Fifth was Rottweiler. Sixth, Border Collie. Seventh, Staffordshire. Eighth, Bichon Frise. Really?
Which is above the Chow Chow.
Chow Chow next. And then bringing up, but not to be forgotten, the Lhasa Apso.
Now, the German Shepherd had a lot of bites. 112 bites with German Shepherds.
But they weren't banned.
No, the pit bulls had 86 bites. Now, not to put that down, not saying that that's inconsequential. That's a lot of dog bites. But the pit bulls were outlawed because of their reign of terror. But there were
More.
20 more bites from the German Shepherd.
So 10 years later, in 2014, the number one breed causing 92 bites was still the German Shepherd. But the Labrador had now moved into second place.
Well,
Which-
because you have the ban on the pit bulls.
Right. So we got to
That's
move
in
up.
effect for the
And
14.
the Lab has been for the last 20 some years, the most popular breed around. So
Right.
we've got the
Percentage
vast,
of
we've got the vast numbers of Labs.
Right.
Parsons still at number 3. Jack Russell still at number 3. Rottweiler moved up to 4. Now we have the Boxer.
Which
The Boxer wasn't even on the list.
yeah.
But probably maybe filling in that niche market.
Yep.
And another breed showing up now that didn't before was the American Bulldog.
Which also probably
Again,
filled in the pit
Yeah.
bull
How
niche.
close can you get to
Yeah.
a pit bull without calling it a pit
Yeah.
bull?
Yep.
And not on the list before, but now everyone's favorite golden retriever. Oh, come now. And just to bring up the others, the Shih Tzu, Siberian Husky, and
The Maltese.
the Maltese has replaced the Lhasa Apso.
I think we when we're looking at numbers, not percentages, but actual numbers, we have to take into account the numbers of the breed. There are more Labs than anything else right now, as far as registered dogs are. And so just by that, you're going to see more. And the difference between 2004 and 2014 is also the difference in the populations of those particular breeds. In 2004, we saw very, very few American Bulldogs.
Right.
Right,
We're
right,
seeing
right.
a lot more.
Right.
And we're seeing more Boxers.
Yeah. And then on 2014, they listed a few more of the smaller breeds, but again, population growth,
We're seeing a lot
apartments,
more. Uh-huh.
condos, smaller living areas, get the smaller dogs, so you're increasing your smaller breeds.
Yeah.
So
Increase
apparently
the
the Shih Tzu and the Maltese became more popular than the Bichon Frise and the Lhasa Apso. Oh, yeah.
And we've seen that over the 30 years that we've been doing this. There's a population of that certain breed.
Right. The fad.
The fad, yeah.
Yeah.
But to be in the top 10,
It's sad.
mean, that's-
Yeah.
that's just...
Yeah. So,
I don't have words for this anymore.
breed-specific legislation doesn't work. So what does work? Well, we're obviously in the business of education.
Right.
We teach people how to teach their dogs, but we do so much more than that too. We explain body language. We talk about exercise for the body, exercise for the mind. We talk about food and behavior, just all this. And we're not the only...
And the responsibilities of an owner.
And the responsibilities of the owner, socialization and social manners and all.
And to have respect for dogs.
Right. But
Right.
we're not the only ones that teach that.
I know.
I do. Obviously, we think our program is awesome, but we're not the only ones that do that. But out of a population, how many people take their dog to training?
Right. Exactly.
There's You got a call from a woman recently who has a Mastiff type dog, and she's having an issue with her female dog now, who's just reaching adulthood, and had done no training with her, even though she's huge, probably 150 pounds, because her previous Mastiff dog didn't need training.
And really, the only reason she called now is because the problem is the dog pulled her down and dragged her across the sidewalk. So now that she's
So now there's
in
a
danger.
problem. Now we need help instead of trying to prevent this when it was younger. You know, and I
Right.
think she's just a sample of how many others out there are the same way. My first dog was great, and he knew everything. I didn't really have to train him. It was wonderful, and that kind of like seems to default to their second dog, which normally doesn't. And then wait till an incident happens.
And then every now and
And then
then
they
I
fall.
still run into the, oh, you're a dog trainer? Yeah, I never needed one. I've always had dogs. I never needed a trainer.
I know how to do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how to train a dog. Right.
Well, gee, we're busy.
I get a lot of...
And again, it's not just
Calls
about the
for
training;
calls.
it's everything else you mentioned that
Right.
that we do. Which, if people would really do this, we would probably see decrease
even
in
that-
bites due to education.
That can't be the whole answer. I mean, I love the Canine Good Citizen program.
Right.
But wasn't that modeled on a UKC an English program along the same ideas?
No, I don't
You
remember.
don't remember that?
The RSPCA in the UK comes out and says that BSL doesn't work. It said a criminal offense is committed if a prohibited type of dog is owned or kept, bred from, sold, or given away. That means it's illegal for the RSPCA or any other rehoming center to rehome a prohibited type of dog. And they feel that BSL is ineffective because it doesn't, and it has not reduced dog bite incidences. And they said since 1991, when the Dangerous Dog Act was instituted in the UK, 36 people have died in dog-related incidences, 27 of which involved dogs not prohibited.
Right.
So, other breeds.
So the numbers don't go down, period. Whether it's just other...
Well, sometimes they do initially,
Well, yeah.
when we talked about when the dogs were banned or whatever.
but just
But
long
other
enough-
dogs fill the gap.
as soon as the, quote, bad owners have a chance to replace the dogs, the numbers go
Yeah.
back.
And bad owners, unknowledgeable owners, or people who just like that type of dog.
Who deliberately want a dog
Right,
like that.
right. So the RSPCA says, so what would prevent dog bites? Effective legislation and enforcement to tackle dog-related issues regardless of breed or type and based on behavior. In other words, if a Chihuahua bites a child viciously, then the Chihuahua is deemed a dangerous dog, not the whole breed.
So I've heard this argument before, and it made sense to me that we have a lot of laws. If a Chihuahua bites a child, not only is the Chihuahua dangerous, but the owner of the Chihuahua
That is
is
next.
responsible.
That
Okay,
is next.
That's next.
That the owner, the dog may be deemed dangerous because of the behavior that has occurred, but the owner is responsible for that dog.
And we have not been holding them responsible?
Not,
That is not to the degree we could.
not to the degree we could.
Okay.
I mean, if they do something like you're arrested driving, drinking and driving,
Right.
don't they probably send you or whichever to some type of rehab
Driver's school.
program,
Or
right?
whatever, yeah.
Education.
At least you have the
AA, that
option.
type- Yeah,
Right.
Right.
But there is that education out there. Why don't they look at doing something like that?
That was next. A better understanding of dog behavior and why dogs bite.
Because we see that.
We see that,
That-
all
that-
the time.
Very lovely woman thought she came here to classes to get educated. Her dog was lunging, and she just wanted... And she goes, oh, and wants to play, but it's pulling my arm off. And we're saying, no, he doesn't want to play. But the tail's wagging.
Yeah.
Right.
So she was
Misunderstanding
shocked.
body language.
Yes.
She wasn't letting her dog be a problem, but she was absolutely shocked to find out the dog's intent.
Yes. And then the last is education, particularly targeted at children who are the most vulnerable from dog bites.
Yeah, because we
So-
can only say it so much in class, but we're
Yeah.
not getting the whole...
Yeah. So it's basically education, holding responsible the individual dog who's had bad behavior, holding the owner responsible for that dog and its actions, teaching children, and teaching people, the general population, about dog behavior and why dogs bite.
So I have
It
heard,
sounds simple,
Well,
but
I
it's
have-
not simple.
I've heard
No.
that there are more laws and penalties on the books than are being enforced
Oh, sure. Well, there are
Sure,
for
across the
everything.
board, yeah.
for everything.
For everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And so what, we're getting distracted with BSL legislation instead of saying...
I think many legislators, cities, towns, villages, counties, states, I think breed-specific legislation seems to be the easy way.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
pit bull mauled some kids. Let's outlaw pit bulls.
The elected representative says, I am helping my community by doing this.
Right.
Instead
I
of-
am
Just like that one-
that reign of terror.
Yeah, the rain terror, just like that one mentioned, that person.
Yeah.
And it
But
didn't work.
it doesn't
But it doesn't
work
work.
in the long
The
run.
missing link is education of the owners.
And the general public. The parents of kids who go running up to a strange dog and scream as they run up, "Can I pet your dog?" And then they're already petting the dog before anybody can stop them.
I mean, I'd
We
love
see
to
that
see,
all the time.
I'd love to see that as put in schools, part of their
Sure.
education. Keep our children safe. Educate them.
I feel like we scratch at the surface when Sue sent around on Facebook the pictures of children. Now we're talking babies and young
Oh,
children.
climbing on top of dogs and sitting on their heads and using
And they
them
were
as a
all under
ladder.
the category of, oh, isn't this sweet? And
No.
we're all going, no, it's dangerous, stop it.
Yeah.
I think I said, bad parents, bad.
Or a few years ago, there was the infamous politician who sent a picture of her grandchild standing on top of a dog.
Right.
And it was like, no. Really, no. So,
I mean,
yeah.
it's rude at the very least, but yeah.
I think, no, the kid wasn't that little and standing on top of the dog. You know, we're all about education. And I think...
And respect.
And respect. But education, teaching the dog the proper behaviors, teaching the owner, teaching kids that live in a community with dogs. And we've got to teach somewhere politicians that this isn't the way to go.
So educate the politicians.
Yeah.
Well, and they were only going to do what we pushed them to do.
Yeah. Do something
So-
about pit bulls.
Right.
Ban them.
Yeah.
Okay, they were doing. We took care of it.
If we,
not really.
as the concerned people, which say, no, you guys tried that. We know that doesn't work. We need to suggest things as well.
I'd like to think that the tide is turning because there is a lot more information out there from many of the animal protective societies, the humane societies, the shelters, that the breed bans are not working. When I was researching this, I found a lot of information out there that is saying this. This is not working. Maybe the pit bulls aren't here, whatever a pit bull is, and maybe he's not biting, but there's another breed has stepped into that
Yeah, exactly.
slot. I mean, I'd hate to see German Shepherds outlawed or banned.
Oh, I know.
I love German Shepherds. I'd hate to see Dobermans banned. Most of them are very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But
You can't identify the breed for sure.
yeah,
I mean, in the article it says the breed of the offending dog is based on what the owner or a city investigator says it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't even, if you can't define it, you can't really ban it properly. But it doesn't work anyway.
right. So obviously we have our opinions. We can't change the world, but we'll try in our own little corner.
Yep.
And in your local corner of your world, maybe think about it. Maybe talk to some people. Talk to,
Maybe you know people who know people in the right places.
or just spread the word. Because maybe you don't own pit bulls, but who knows? It can be your breed next. You saw the list. We read them to you. Maltese, Bichons.
It's been a while, but we had a list of breeds that insurance companies would no longer cover
Right.
under homeowners insurance.
That was a big list, and that was from 5-6 years ago.
And yeah, 4
Yeah.
pages or something. And I'm
It was
looking,
ridiculous. Who
Well,
knows what it looks like now?
if there are Maltese on the list, Boston Terrier, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
no, there's something
It-
fundamentally
It's
wrong
not.
there.
Yes.
Everyone needs to be concerned about this because it's not just pit bulls, German Shepherds, Dobermans, Akitas, Rottweilers. It's not just those breeds. There's Siberian Huskies on some lists. There's There's many, many breeds. Granted,
Bichon Frisés are on the list, then we're just not doing something right.
yes. Yeah. So hopefully we gave you something to think about. Talk to other dog owners. Talk to your shelters, your animal control, humane society. Talk about it. Let's see if we can get changed. That's it from us. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Having a rough day? Longing for the dog days of summer? Think your fun furry friend lives a dog's life? Well, find out everything you're begging to know as Pet Life Radio presents It's a Doggy Dog World with pet expert and award-winning author Liz Palaika. Every dog has his day, and you'll find out how to make your dog's day fun and rewarding. Every week, on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.